And I can tell that you can still not see me, which is fine. So I'll just wait for you, and in the meantime, I'll just sort out my notes because I have prepared notes for this. Let me just... there we go. Okay, so now that I have received confirmation from TM, hello TM, lovely to see you. Thanks as always for being here and for sharing your time. It's so nice to see you. I can see that there are 10 people here, which is great, which is so nice. I can imagine a room full of 10 people. That's a decent sized group. So thanks for being here, all 10 of you. Today is a topic that is not only tied in with mindfulness and self-improvement and creating a more peaceful life, but it's also embedded in thousands of years of Japanese wisdom. And before we continue, I'll just say hello to you all. Hello, Mary Lou, lovely to see you. G'day, Deanne. Hey, Suzanne, lovely to see you. G'day, back to you, TM. Great to see you. Oh, hey, Ruth. Hey, great to see you, Ruth. Thanks for being up so late and for joining us. Same goes to you, Fatima. Thanks to you guys for being here. Hi, Stephanie. Lovely to see you. So hey, Kathy. Happy Canada Day. Beautiful. Well, happy Canada Day. Hope you're celebrating it in style and enjoying yourself and as you would. So thanks for being here and thanks for sharing this time with me. Today's topic we'll be talking about 8 Japanese secrets to living a happier and more fulfilling life. And I want to be sharing with you these 8 techniques, Japanese techniques, if you may. You could apply at any time in your life, at any point. Some of them are so simple. And there is so much wisdom that can be found in Japanese teachings. I've always been interested in the world of Japanese wisdom, being introduced to it from a young age. When I began doing karate back when I was a kid, and I was just fascinated by the levels of discipline and tradition that they carried with them, and then I just kept reading about it, and it's just such a fascinating world and source to acquire wisdom from. So we're gonna explore that. Hello, Elisabetta. Lovely to see you. Ciao. So let's go through all 8, okay? Without further ado, so we don't waste too much time. G'day, Deanne. I need some techniques to help me get through some stuff right now. 100%, Deanne. Well, hopefully these will help you a little bit. They can be very practical, but also very encouraging. So the first technique, we talked about it in one of our episodes. The first technique is, the first principle, let's go with principle. Hello, Fatima, lovely to see you. The first principle that we can learn from, again, thousands of years of Japanese wisdom would be the principle of the secret of ikigai. And ikigai is something we've talked about quite extensively on a previous episode. I was sharing the readings from a book that I read earlier this year called Ikigai, and I thought it was a fantastic and effective book. And but let's recap and let's talk a little bit about the principle of ikigai, and then we'll move on to the other 7. So the word ikigai basically means finding your reason for being, finding your purpose in this world. And there are 4 pillars to ikigai. There is the first one is do what you love. Do what you love. Do what you are good at. Okay? So find what you're skilled at and what you're talented at and leverage that. Okay? And do what the world needs. Okay? So contribute to the world in one way or another. Bring your own value to the world. It can be in any way that suits you. And the last one is do what you can be paid for. And that is where you find this perfect balance between your passions and between living a sustainable and practical life. So doing what you love is the first principle. And, it's all about finding something that makes you feel alive, makes you feel joyful. Think about hobbies you've engaged in throughout your life. Things that make you lose track of time when you do them. Things that make you gravitate towards them effortlessly without even noticing. So when you start noticing that, that's a first clue that you're on the right path to finding your ikigai. And in Japanese culture, it's very important to find that, to find joy in everyday tasks, in the things that makes even seem extremely just uninteresting or mundane even. And find value in that, find meaning in those things. So, if you love gardening, for example, you can wake up early, you can get excited about the garden, you can get invested in the garden, excited about the plants you're gardening, feeling, and it helps you feel a greater connection to nature and to this passion of yours. And then, of course, the second pillar is you've got to do what you're good at, right? Got to do what you're good at. We all have something that we are good at, right? It can be anything, You can be good at communicating. You can be good at teaching. You can be, good at making little origami papers, right? So it's about finding that for which you are good at and working on it, strengthening it, building those skills and honing those skills, really. And that will not only help you bring out the best version of yourself, but it'll help you feel a greater sense of accomplishment and purpose in your life. So that's the second principle. And the third principle, the third pillar of Ikigai, do what the world needs. We're living in this world, we can live the most joyous experience, the most purposeful experience, but ultimately, a big part of living this world is also leaving the world better than what it was when you first stepped in, ensuring that you have brought value to this world, because we're all in this world together and we all have to work together to make this world a better place. So this aspect of Ikigai is very important. It's about leaving a positive impact on the world, looking outwards and seeing and evaluating how your passions and how your skills, how you can use those passions and skills to address societal needs. And that's a very, very important principle. When you do this, you actually not only, leave the world better, but you also contribute to your community. Your community is better, happier, and it creates a better flow. It gives you also a greater sense of meaning. And lastly, do what you can be paid for. Okay, and that's a very, very important principle, because that's practical. That's a practical principle, right? So you're finding that which you love, you're finding that which you can bring value to the world with, and then you want to obviously get paid for it, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to get paid. Now, you don't have to, but it's all about finding a balance between your passions, your skills, the market demand, and that gives you a sense of pride, right? When you're working, when you're doing something that you may be getting paid for, and you are not only enjoying it, but it brings you fulfillment, and it gives you this sense that you're contributing to the world. That gives you, it makes you feel good about yourself, and it makes you, it can have a very positive effect on your self-esteem. So my Ikigai can change over time, 100%, Suzanne, and that's the thing about humans, and it's a very common Zen principle. In fact, all of these secrets are all related to Zen, is that things change over time. Our lives are very malleable. Humans, we're always changing. We change our proclivities, we change our desires, we change our preferences. So much changes over time. I can tell you personally that my Ikigai 20 years ago was very different to what it was now. My Ikigai 10 years ago was very different to what is now. And it probably will be different 20 years from now. So Ikigai does change over time, but it's a matter of sticking to this principle, this core value of Ikigai, and integrating it into your daily life and adapting. Humanity, being a human in this world is all about adapting. It's all about living a productive and adaptable life. And ultimately, that is adjusting to the nature of this world, to the nature of reality. So how do we integrate Ikigai before we move on to the next principles? You have to ask yourself the following 4 questions. Okay, the first question is, what activities, things that you do make you lose a track of time, right? What is it that you do that makes you lose this track of time that you enjoy, right? Second question is, what are your natural talents? What are you good at naturally? There's always something. You could be good at writing. You could be good at explaining things and teaching. You could be good at putting things together. You could be good at gardening. Whatever it is that you're good at, or cooking, just ask yourself, what is it that I'm good at? And how can I use those things that I'm good at to positively impact the world, right? If I'm good at teaching, can I probably work as a mentor and teach skills onto other kids, to kids? Or if I'm good at cooking, could I cook food and deliver it to people and make other people's lives a lot better? And yeah, how can you leverage those skills, those passions, those talents that are making the world a better place? How can you leverage them into making money so that you can sustain yourself and keep doing this? So that's the first secret. It is Ikigai. The second principle is the principle of Kaizen. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Kaizen, Kaizen. And Kaizen is basically the philosophy. Well, it's a word that means, that translates to change for the better or continuous improvement, right? So it's the philosophy of continuous improvement. And I love Kaizen because it teaches you something very fundamental, okay? To whatever you're doing, always try to be a little bit better each day. And we've talked about that before in regards to meditation. Like when you're trying to be better at meditation, you take very small steps in the direction that you want to head to. It's all about taking those very small increments forward, and that's so you can gradually get better and gradually improve. And you can apply this to everyday life. You can apply this to your personal life. You can apply this to your professional life. It's not about pursuing perfection. It's not about achieving an ideal, perfect outcome. It's about focusing on the journey and focusing on each single day and how you can gradually bring things a little bit forward, even if it's 0.5% or 1%. You're gradually improving every day. So it is a concept that really helps you bring out the best in yourself professionally, but also personally. You can also apply this principle of Kaizen to your everyday home and family life, right? Making slight adjustments and enhancements to your daily routines, to your household chores. It can help you implement better time management routines. And that ultimately will help you live an easier life. You can also apply it to financial management. You can apply it to your own, if you're going through emotional and mental well-being issues or hindrances, you can apply Kaizen to that, right? Taking small little steps, focusing on little things you can be grateful for, little things that you can do in this moment to take a step in the right direction. So, for example, if you're going through a very rough time, you can just start with maybe just a couple of minutes of closing your eyes and just thinking of what it is you're grateful for. What is it that I'm grateful for? It's as simple as that. It may not transform your world in those couple of minutes, but that's not the point of Kaizen. The point of Kaizen is taking the first step. So you've done that. The next thing will be maybe a simple mindfulness exercise, maybe breathing a certain amount of times, maybe 5 deep breaths, and that's it, right? And then slowly, slowly you start, one thing leads to another, and you start building that momentum. Let's see what Elisabetta has to say. Best thing, doing what you love and doing good. Yes, exactly, Elisabetta. That's the goal. And Elisabetta is also saying, can you improve even getting older? 100%, Elisabetta. This whole myth that you can't, once you reach a certain age, there is a limit, there is a cap, and that you can't really improve to the extent that someone in their 20s could, is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. You could be at any age and still improve. It's not about your age that inhibits you. The problem is a lot of people, because of their age, don't believe that they want to change. They're stuck in their ways. So you just don't be that person. Just don't be stuck in your ways. Try to, have and we'll talk about that in one of the principles, but just have an open mindset, a beginner's mindset. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And remember, a very big important aspect of Kaizen is also learning to celebrate the small wins. And that's a big one, because there are a couple of things that tie into that. If you're going through a rough time, right, and something small, a tiny win might have happened, celebrate it. It could be the most seemingly insignificant little win, but still celebrate, because what that does is that manifests in self-kindness. So that tells your subconscious that you're being nice to yourself, you're being kind to yourself, and that makes you feel better about yourself, which makes you take better actions. And when you take better actions, momentum kicks in, and then you eventually you're heading in the right direction towards being a better person. So that's the principle of Kaizen. You can write it down if you'd like. Small steps, gradual, continuous steps towards improvement. Now, that we just talked about, Elisabetta brought off, can age improve? Can you improve even getting older? And I gave you an answer. And that answer leads me on to the next principle, the principle of Shoshin. Shoshin, okay? Now, Shoshin literally means the beginner's mind, okay? So the principle of Shoshin is basically whatever you're doing, you could be an expert at whatever you're doing, but you approach it with the beginner's mind, right? And again, that's also, there is an element of putting your ego aside and just having an open mind, a beginner's mind, and not thinking that you know everything, not thinking that you know more than everyone else in a certain area, or even just, you may know more than everyone else in an area, but still approaching it with the beginner's mind, because of that not only teaches you to learn, you learn more, you bring in more information, you grow a lot more as a person, but it also teaches you humility, teaches you to be humble, and it teaches you to understand that there is so much more that you can learn. So Shoshin is such an important tool and principle to adapt. It teaches you creativity, it teaches you curiosity, and again, it makes you want to learn and grow. And when you're growing, you tend to be a lot happier when you grow. So, and oftentimes we learn, we become complacent, right? We get stuck in routines, in jobs, in lifestyles, and then we get complacent. We never really see the point of improving, of growing, or doing anything. So we don't take in new information. We don't challenge ourselves. Whereas Shoshin, the principle of Shoshin, encourages us to develop. It encourages us to grow and learn more about ourselves. So how do we apply it to our everyday lives? How do we apply the principle of Shoshin to our lives? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to learn. You need to open your mind and take in new information, right? And approach this information with a sense of curiosity and humility, right? Shoshin also helps you overcome this fear that I also tend to have every now and then of asking questions, right? We sometimes are afraid of being judged. We are afraid of putting our reputation on the line by asking questions that may to you in that moment seem like they're not clever questions, but they could just very well be the questions that everyone else wants to ask. And that there's an element of courage and humility that comes with that. So with Shoshin, it also, you overcome that fear of asking questions because you have this mindset of It's fine. I'm a beginner. I'm always going to be a beginner in whatever I do. It doesn't mean I'm going to suck. It means I may be the best at what I do, but I'm approaching it with a beginner's mind. Okay, I'm welcoming in new ideas, which gives me the potential to grow even further. Because most people, they get to a point of mastery and they don't have this beginner's mind. They just cap. They just stop. They don't grow anymore. With the Shoshin, you get to that point of mastery and you still have a beginner's mind. You take in more, because there's always someone in this world that you can learn from. Suzanne's asking, 100% taking chances. No doubt, taking chances. Exactly, Deanne. There's no dumb questions. Exactly. And it also helps you in the workplace, professional growth. It helps you with problem solving. Oftentimes when we have a beginner's mindset and we are more open to learning, regardless. Again, it puts our ego at bay, but it also helps us problem solve better, right? We're less stubborn and we're just more open to different ideas and different ways of doing things. It can help us with our personal relationships, right? So we can listen to other people without judging them, and that's a very important thing. And we can genuinely be curious about what they're going through and about the ideas that they have, and we can integrate their ideas without judgment, and that'll improve your personal relationships because people will just feel more inclined to share things with you, and that's something meditation teaches without a doubt. Meditation teaches how to not judge. Meditation teaches you to come from a place of not judgment. Every breath is different, every unique. Those thoughts that are brushing through your mind, that are arising and coming and going, those thoughts do not hold any credibility and do not hold any merit in terms of how they define you, because they don't define you. They're just thoughts, and But what our problem as people is that we have this tendency to judge ourselves using those thoughts. So, yeah. And another thing is that you can apply Shoshin, the principle of the beginner's mind, to your hobbies and everyday interests, because then it opens you up to trying different things, right? Instead of being stuck in routines, you become more open to trying different hobbies. And that goes back to what Elisabetta was saying, can old people also improve? Yes, everyone can. It's not the fact that people are old that inhibits them from growing. It's the mindset that inhibits them from growing. A lot of people that I've spoken to later in life, they're just not open to new hobbies. I'm not saying that you're not. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying generally that is something that, because people get stuck in their ways, they become more rigid with their lifestyles and with what they like. So Shoshin encourages you to try new techniques, new things, new hobbies, and right? So for example, if you love painting, right? Having a Shoshin mindset will encourage you to experiment with different mediums, different styles that you never tried before. And approach them from a place of curiosity and from a place of, well, who knows what's going to happen. So, yeah, hope that makes a lot of sense. Remember, if you want to bring Shoshin into your life, you just need to embrace curiosity, let go of these preconceived notions that are holding you back. You've got to be present, meditate. It'll teach you presence. It'll teach you humility. And remember that when you make mistakes, celebrate those mistakes. I'm not saying throw a party, but just be grateful that those mistakes have happened, because they are an opportunity. And we'll talk about that in one of the other principles that are coming up. They're an opportunity for you to grow. Okay, so that's the third principle, the principle of Shoshin. I'm just going to drink some water. So. Okay. The next principle is our fourth principle. The fourth principle, let's see. I don't judge because I'm not exactly, yeah. And we know we're not perfect, so we don't judge. Hello, Joyce. Elizabeth is saying, principiant's attitude means more enthusiasm. Yes, that's true. The next principle is hara hachibu. Okay, hara hachibu. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that is a phrase in Japanese that literally translates to eat until you are 80% full. And we have touched on that in previous episodes. we talked about ikigai, because it does touch on that in the book. But it's a whole principle of its own, because ikigai has its own meaning, and hara hachibu has its own meaning. So what is hara hachibu? It is eating until you are 80% full. Now, why is that important, and why have the Japanese embraced this so wholly and so passionately, and have integrated it so successfully into their cultures? Well, firstly, it promotes longevity, right? And it only takes you to go to Okinawa in Japan, the island of Japan, in which that has the most centurions in the world, centenarians in the world, people who have lived the longest in the world, over 100. And when you look at the first thing you always look at when you're examining someone's longevity, you look at how their diet is conducted. What do they eat? And the one common thing they all have in that region, Okinawa, is hara hachibu. They all eat until they are 80% full. So, yes, exactly. This is why they're so fit and healthy, exactly. So eating until you're 80% is full is great because, again, it promotes longevity. It also encourages you to be more mindful. Think about it. When you eat too much, when you eat until you're stuffed, and we've all done that. If you haven't, then at least try it once. But if you do that, then you feel heavy, you feel lethargic, you feel tired. So, you feel less mindful, you feel less present. So you feel more mindful when you're eating until you're 80% full. Also supports healthy digestion, right? Because firstly, it takes 20 minutes for your brain to fully to relay the message to you, or for your gut to relay the message to your brain that that you've eaten 100%. So you may be at 80%, but you could just be at 100%. And when you get to what seems like 100%, you're actually at 120%, which is not good. Yeah, exactly. You fall into a food coma. And so, yeah, it's good for your digestion, and it helps you, obviously, with your weight. So if you eat too much, anything that is done excessively is bad for you. If you eat too much, then it'll obviously it can be bad for your weight, and that can also lead to medical problems down the track. So, how do we practice hara hachibu? How do we practice that? Well, firstly, and again, one of the things I like about this principle, it's not just about eating until you're 80% full. It's about being mindful of what you eat. It's about being mindful of how much you eat. It's not about the end result, which is the 80% full. It's about just being mindful, being aware. Okay, I've just eaten this whole bowl of berries, and I've just finished eating this other whole bowl of rice, and finished this and that, and you're becoming aware, you're becoming conscious of what you eat. So you're not just eating and stuffing and not even realizing. So there's an element of that as well. So there's mindful eating, which is, in my opinion, a core aspect of hara hachibu. And so savoring each bite and appreciating and paying attention to your body and to when your body signals to you that it's 80%. Okay? So Japanese are very big on that. The Japanese are very big on rituals, right? And they'll spend some time preparing the food. To them, that's all part of the ritual, and getting ready, and there's a whole ritual involved with everything. Putting it on the table, and then before they eat, I mean, there are so many different cultures within Japan, but before they eat, they'll have their own little rituals. So, yes, and practicing portion control is another one, right? So, for example, using smaller plates, or even like having smaller portions for your first attempt at eating, your first meal, your first round, just having small portions as opposed to big portions. And then there's this expectation to finish them all. By then, you've already reached 100%. So if you just have smaller portions, eat, maybe take a moment to go for a walk around the block and realize that once, it's not actually 80%, you're actually at 100%. So yeah, listening to your body, paying attention to where it's at, 80% full, and yeah. Okay, so how do we implement that? Well, firstly, be kind to yourself again, as always. But eat slowly. Eating slowly can, have a huge effect, right? When you're eating fast, you don't even. It's hard to keep count. It's hard to keep track of where you're at. But if you're eating slowly, it gives you not only time to chew more, which means that it'll be easier for your body to digest the food better, but it also allows your body to just accept it and realize where it's standing in terms of how full you are. Taking pauses during meals. So you're not just constantly eating nonstop. Even if you're not slowly constantly eating nonstop. Taking a pause, maybe looking around you, maybe, talking to someone. Taking pauses between meals. That's a very important thing that you should do. And then, maybe check in on yourself in between pauses. See if you're at 80% at that point. You could be at 60%, maybe take a few more bites until you get to 80%. And avoid distractions, because sometimes when you are distracted, when you're reading a book or watching TV while you're eating, you don't really notice how much you're eating. So you'll just keep eating and you just don't notice. You just keep doing it. And I'm guilty of that. I could eat 2 pizzas while I'm watching a movie or something like that. So it is what it is. And practicing gratitude, just being grateful, is all part of the ritual. Gratitude is not only a ritual that applies to mindfulness and to Japanese Zen culture, but to every religion in the world, to every culture in the world. Every religion has a ritual that involves gratitude prior to eating. So, in Christianity, there's grace. In Judaism, they have their own ritual. So every religion has a ritual that involves mindful eating and gratitude. Suzanne's asked, do most Japanese adhere to these secrets and lifestyles? And are they being taught at an early age? So it's part of their culture. So a lot of them are very aware of those concepts. I remember speaking to a Japanese guy when I was doing my free meditations last year. And just a random Japanese guy, he's heard of all of these principles. So he's heard of a lot of them. Not all, I didn't quiz him about all of them, but he's heard about some of the main ones that we're going to go through. So a lot of Japanese know about it. The problem is that Japan is now a very modernized country. So if I would go to Tokyo, a lot of the people that live in Tokyo now would have been exposed to more Western ways of life and influences. So there's less emphasis than what there used to be on sustaining the virtues of those secrets and culture. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but there are, I hope, still some young Japanese people who are willing to learn from the older generation and sustain those values and virtues and pass them on to their kids. So you can just hope that, they've sustained that. Now, the next principle is another important one, which involves mindfulness. It's called Shinrin Yoku. Okay, Shinrin Yoku. Before I touch on that, Deanne's saying, if I even thought about eating too big, yeah, right, even the thought would make you put on weight. Yeah, I know. I always regret it the following day. I don't do that anymore, though. But Shinrin Yoku. Shinrin Yoku is the art. It translates to forest bathing. It's the art of forest bathing, or taking in the forest atmosphere. Okay, now, this is actually a relatively modern principle out of the 8. That's probably the most new one. It's a Japanese principle, and it basically involves immersing yourself in nature, right? Going to a forest, ideally into a forest, because that's what it literally means. How do you spell that? Shinrin, and then Yoku. Kathy? Shinrin Yoku. Okay, so forest bathing. And it's not about hiking through the forests and trying to achieve a certain outcome. It's not about exercising. It's not about any of that. It's about walking into a forest or into nature. We could even translate that to nature if you don't have a forest where you live. And immersing yourself, bathing in the surroundings and replenishing your soul, your body with everything that's around you. And that is mindfulness at its purest, in my opinion. So you're bathing in the sounds, in the fresh air, in how the surface feels, and what the trees, how they feel, and what you see, the colors, and what you can smell. You might find a berry along the way. You can eat it, but make sure it's a proper berry. We don't want you getting poisoned. Definitely do not eat any mushrooms. That could have a very an adverse effect. So it's just about immersing yourself in nature and bathing in the beauties of nature, and connecting to nature with all your senses. And this principle is so important. Yes, embracing trees, embracing the animals. And it's important for so many reasons. Firstly, it helps you reduce stress, right? And we're living in times in which we are surrounded by stress. There's so much stress going around. And we don't give ourselves that time. We don't really dedicate much time to stepping out and enjoying nature. How do most people handle stress? Well, they'll mask the stress by watching something on TV, or distracting themselves on YouTube or social media or the news, or even catching up with friends at a party. Those are distractions. Those are masks, but you're not handling the stress. So mindfulness, and in this case Shinrin-yoku, helps you become more present. And when you're in a state of presence, when you're in the now, in many ways, it is an antidote to stress, to anxiety. And it also helps you improve your mood. How can you not feel better? Or how can you not be in a better mood when you are in nature, in a forest, in where we are meant to be as humans? Just being grateful for nature, embracing nature, surrounded by the beauty of nature, the trees. It can help you improve creativity. It can help. Actually, studies have shown that when you're out there enjoying your surroundings mindfully, it can actually help improve your memory and your cognitive functions, like your hippocampus grows. So there are a lot of, just absorbing your surroundings visually, that on its own can help you improve your memory. So that's something to think about. Obviously, your physical health, when you are, firstly, walking is healthy, right? So that comes with the territory, but your physical health in the sense that it relieves anxiety. And when you are less anxious, you obviously, your body opens up to more health and works better for you. So that, again, also your immune system as well. So who knows? So there's that, Shinrin-yoku, okay? The best way to do it is just find a place. You may live in a bustling city center. Take a few hours, jump in your car or bicycle, get out of the city for a bit, find a nice secluded spot in nature. It doesn't have to be a forest. I mean, the idea is that it is a forest, but it doesn't have to be a forest. It can be a garden. It can be something else. And just be there. Turn your phone off or put it on airplane mode and be there for 30 to 60 minutes and just enjoy the surroundings. And if you're feeling impatient, be aware of that. I find that sometimes when I'm trying to engage in mindfulness, you can feel impatience. You can feel like, I need to do. Recognize those feelings. Attend to them. Don't just give in to them or ignore them. You have to attend to them, listen to them, see where they're coming from, and then just go back to what you're doing. So, does that all make sense? I hope that makes sense. And by the way, you don't have to do this alone. You can invite other people to join you, right? You can combine it with other activities. You can schedule a regular time to do it. Okay? Absolutely, Deanne. Be in the moment and embrace nature. Now, the second, sorry, I don't even know where we're at. I think that's the fifth principle now that we're at. The fifth principle is one that we have again talked about several times. It is the principle of wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi. Now, you've heard of that principle. It's a very powerful principle, right? Because it basically helps us see the world very differently. And wabi-sabi is a Japanese, again, they're all Japanese, is a word that means finding beauty in imperfection. Okay, finding beauty in imperfection. and impermanence. It helps you understand the nature of impermanence, the natural cycle of growth and decay. And this specific word, or the two words, have inspired me to come up with the word Enso, because Enso is in many ways a symbol of wabi-sabi. Right? Enso exemplifies impermanence. Enso exemplifies the beauty and imperfection. So let's go through both words, and then we'll talk a little bit about wabi-sabi. So the word wabi basically means it refers to the loneliness of living in nature, right? Away from society, and appreciating the simple things, right? Appreciating the things that are understated in life. So just appreciating them. And then sabi means beauty. The beauty that comes with age and things that naturally wear off, okay? Wear and tear, embracing the beauty that comes with the passage of time. So wabi, right, which means finding value in the in understated things, right? Like just the simple things. And then sabi, which means beauty in things that have been around for quite some time. So wabi-sabi, beauty in imperfection. And it's such a beautiful concept, because the reason I think it's beautiful is because it's unpretentious, right? It basically allows you to embrace whatever it is and live a life of non-judgment. And you can really just start seeing things from a different lenses. You can start understanding and embracing the more authentic, you become more authentic aspects of life. You can find beauty in the flaws of yourself, in your own flaws, in the flaws of others, and it just helps create a greater synergy. So how do we apply? And then wabi-sabi ties in with another principle, another principle called kintsugi, right? Kintsugi. And kintsugi basically means, the idea behind it is, there is a vase. I mean, this is the definition, right? Say there is a vase or a cup, a ceramic cup or a bowl, and it breaks into pieces. And then you take it, and then you apply golden glue to it, and you stick it together with gold. So then when you've put it together after it has been broken, now it's even more beautiful because it has gold in it. It's embedded in gold. So the idea of kintsugi is, and it ties in with wabi-sabi. I was going to use them as separate principles, but I thought they're sort of like under the same umbrella, in the same family. The idea of kintsugi is when you are broken, when you have endured tough, challenging, arduous, turbulent, tumultuous times in your life, and when you feel like you've been broken or when you've failed, you have to understand and trust the principle that when you do put yourself back together, you've actually used gold to put yourself together. So you're actually more beautiful now. You're actually a better person. You are more valuable now because of your failures, because of the downfalls you've experienced, because you've been broken. And you may have been heartbroken. You may have been broken at work. Someone may have broken you. Whatever it is, however it is that you may have felt like you have been broken, kintsugi assures you that when you do bring yourself back together, you're more beautiful and you're better. So, and again, it all ties back because now, once you've been brought together, you're no longer quote unquote perfect, but there is beauty in this imperfection that has brought you back together. So, wabi-sabi, back to wabi-sabi, simplify and declutter. Okay, so it teaches you to simplify your life. Find beauty in that which is simple and declutter your life. There is a lot in your life that you may have that you don't need and that you may be trying to extract value from. Okay, and you just have to understand that that's not where the beauty comes from. The beauty comes from the simple things. The beauty comes from the most unobvious things that you can find. Wabi-sabi also teaches you to appreciate the natural world. appreciate the natural world, finding beauty in the natural world, and finding beauty in aging. Okay, and that is something that a lot of us find very hard to appreciate, the aging process, right? The grace that comes with it. And so it encouraged you to value, it encouraged you to value the wisdom and the experience that you get from aging, and just put aside the superficial side of it and understand that you are now, as you age, you become wiser, you become more valuable, you become a more complete person. And so it teaches you to cherish those signs of aging in yourself and in others, really. And value those things that come with it, right? Value the grey hairs, the wrinkles, and everything. Okay, so that's wabi sabi for you. But how do we implement wabi sabi into our lives? Well, firstly, you have to accept your flaws. The first step of wabi sabi is acceptance. You got to accept your flaws. Once you've accepted your flaws, you have to learn to appreciate your flaws. And then once you've appreciated your flaws, you become more content and more just aligned with who you are as a person. And you start recognizing your true uniqueness and beauty. And simplify your life. The less you have, less clutter you have in the life, the more you can appreciate it. Be more in touch with nature. Meditate often. Be more present, because when you meditate, you start appreciating yourself more. You start becoming less judgmental. And again, value the aging process. Value yourself and how you are evolving as a person. It's going to have... Okay. Now, the next Japanese principle, I don't know if you're enjoying this or not, but I'm having a lot of fun going through this with you, is ganbaru. Okay? Now, ganbaru is a Japanese term that translates to persevere, to perseverance. And, or even another translation to ganbaru would be to do your best, to just do your best, to persevere or do your best. And ganbaru is a very important principle, as you know, right? We all understand the value of persistence and resilience, because it encapsulates the spirit of determination, right? It really does. It gives us this fuel to power through these challenges and face those challenges like we would. And again, it all comes down to trusting this principle of ganbaru, trusting that if you persevere hard enough, you may not achieve the outcome that you want, but you will eventually achieve something. So this principle is actually very ingrained in Japanese culture, right? And Japanese people are very perseverant by nature. And a lot of it is because of this principle of ganbaru, okay? So ganbaru encourages you to persist, right? Persist through hard times, through difficulties. It encourages you to strive to be the best person that you can be, and remain committed to your goals. And that's very important. So it's important because it teaches you resilience. It helps you, it promotes a more resilient mindset. So you can bounce back more easily from trying times and from setbacks, and you can push forward. You can keep pushing forward because of this principle. You become more determined to succeed, determined to achieve your goals, determined to be there for people when they need you, essentially making you a better person to have in the world and in people's lives. It also comes with the territory of having a better work ethic. So with ganbaru, when you have this persistent and perseverant mindset, again, which is embedded in Japanese culture, you become more dedicated to succeed. You become more dedicated, to achieving goals. You aim high. So there's that as well. And lastly, courage, right? With ganbaru, when you're persevering, when you dedicated, your mindset to persisting, to persevering, you're less afraid. You're less afraid of the consequence because you're committed. You're not worried about whether things are going to go wrong or not. Ultimately, because you trust yourself, you trust that if things don't go wrong, you're resilient and you can bounce back and try again. But also because you're just extremely focused and you're on persevering, on getting through those challenges. You're not even worried about any other outcomes. So you do build more courage from this principle of Ganbaru. So, yeah, that's that. Okay, so remember, if you want to implement Ganbaru into your life, you have to begin by setting clear goals, right? It all starts with setting those clear, realistic, and achievable goals. Okay, and make them manageable, make them easy to apply, and then when you do stay focused on them, when you do accomplish them, you become more focused, you become more motivated, and just like a muscle, you grow better and better at it. Okay, a very important aspect of achieving Ganbaru is having a positive attitude. So you need to have a positive attitude to achieve it. You need to believe in yourself. You need to, you can't persist, you can't persevere if you don't believe in yourself ultimately. So having a positive attitude is key. It is paramount to Ganbaru, really. Self-discipline is important, right? So you need to discipline yourself to persist and push through. A couple of days ago, I visited a friend of mine, an old friend. I haven't seen him. He's a good friend, close friends, and he invited me over to his house for an ice bath. So he bought one of those baths that are constantly 0 or -1 degrees cold. And he swears by the benefits of it. And me, on the other hand, I struggle to step into the waters of the beach. It takes me ages to jump into a pool. So I'm the last person you would expect to do that. And one of the things I focused on when he invited me over, we did breathing exercises to help warm my body up and prepare me for it. But when I stepped into that ice bath, the first time I failed. I went in and I was like, and I jumped out and I felt my whole body was a little painful. It's very cold, it's ice, it's almost sub-zero. Then, I could have given up, but I just thought, let's just try again. I persisted, I persevered. So there was an element of Ganbaru in that. And the second time I tried and I plunged myself into that ice bath and I stayed there for the intended goal of 1 minute. And I came out, I was in a lot of pain not long after, but apparently it helped and I felt great and I felt this sense of accomplishment. So that's it, you just persist, you persevere. Also another element is learning from your setbacks. Part of being resilient is understanding that there are setbacks in life, but learning from them and then bouncing back. Because then the next time you bounce back, you come back stronger. And lastly, just share the spirit of Ganbaru. Like when you are living a life dedicated to the principle of Ganbaru, you inspire those around you to want to be the same. So it can be a great service to your peers and to society. Deanne's saying, no, thank you. It's cold. It's getting cold enough here. Yeah, I'm not one to enjoy cold, believe me. And Suzanne's saying, you're another Patrick Toomey. Yes. Yes, exactly. I'm the Aussie Patrick Toomey. Okay. Yes, the setbacks of life. Exactly. So the next principle, I think we are almost there. Yeah, I think we're almost there. Okay, cool. So I think this is the last one, actually. The last principle that comes from Japanese wisdom is gaman, Jaman, gaman, which is the virtue of patience and endurance. And gaman literally translates to patience, right? Or it can translate to perseverance or endurance, but it basically means being patient, not rushing things, not expecting things to arrive faster than they actually should. We may be going through difficult times, right? But what Gaman teaches us is it teaches us to embody the idea of knowing how to endure those difficult situations with dignity and self-control. It's about maintaining composure and exercising self-restraint. And just even in the face of adversity, right? When you're going through a lot of hard times, it helps you restrain yourself, and it helps you understand that you shouldn't rush things. Just be patient. So it's great because when you do adopt the principle of Gaman, you find that you build inner strength to begin with, right? Because you develop this mental and emotional resilience. But it also helps you promote emotional regulation, because when you are patient, when you're not rushed, you feel like you're more in control. You feel more balanced. You are more able to manage your emotions more effectively. Gaman also helps you feel more graceful, more dignified, right? You're not a slave to how you react. You're taking your time, and you become, social settings become a lot easier and a lot better because you're more patient. You're not in a rush to say the next thing. You're not in a rush to go somewhere. You are more patient. You are more present, and it can be a great tool. For me, this is a great principle to end with, because the best way to enhance Gaman, which is, again, patience, is through mindfulness, through meditation. Meditation helps you remain present. It helps you not get caught up in those thoughts. It helps you not rush. It helps you take your time. It helps you regulate your emotions and communicate yourself in a calm and composed way, especially during difficult situations. So if you want to create a greater sense of Gaman, then meditation is a great way to do that. Developing, it also, it helps you become more emotionally aware of how you feel in the moment. And it may also help you become a little bit more emotionally intelligent and aware of how other people feel. And yeah, it also helps you focus on long-term goals. So if you have a long-term goal that you want to achieve, if you adopt the principle of Gaman, you are less likely to rush into achieving that goal. You might just take your time and say, okay, if I achieve it in a year or two from now, that's fine. Let's just take our time. Let's be patient. It goes back to the old saying of slow and steady wins the race, right? Slow and steady, just be patient, but do things right. Don't rush things and do things badly so you can get there fast. Do things slow, not necessarily slow, but just do things at a pace that is authentic, that is good, and do so authentically. And it may take you longer, but you'll get there with better quality. Yes, controlling your temper is one aspect of it, without a doubt. So, yeah, those are the 8 principles. I'll go through them: Ikigai, Kaizen, Shoshin, Hara, Hachi, Bu, Shinrin, Yoku, Wabi-sabi, Ganbaru, and Gaman. So I hope that you, and with Wabi-sabi there was Kintsugi as well, with Wabi-sabi. Feel free to share with me which principle that we just talked about resonated with you the most. I'd love to hear that. Would be nice to hear that. For me, the principle of Wabi-sabi has always resonated, but even Kintsugi resonates with me because I've been broken many times, and each time that I come back from those times, I feel stronger and I feel like a more enhanced version of myself. So to me, Kintsugi, Wabi-sabi, embracing those imperfections is, in my opinion, a fundamental form of self-love. How do you spell number 7, please? Number 7 was Ganbaru. G-A-N for Nelly, B-A-R-U. And that's the perseverance, the one we talked about, perseverance. And we'll go through each one, pretty much all of them. Yeah, we'll go through each one. If you want to quickly pull out a pen, I'll go through each one and give you a quick title so you can write them down and maybe read about them in your own time. Ikigai is the first one, finding your reason for being. Kaizen is the second one, K-A-I-Z-E-N, which is all about continuous improvement. Okay, constantly getting incremental small changes, 1% at a time. Shoshin is the third one, which is the the beginner's mind, approaching everything with a beginner's mind. Hara Hachibu was the fourth one, which is all about eating until you're 80% full. Shinrin Yoku was the fifth one, which is forest bathing. Wabi Sabi, again, that was the sixth one, which is all about embracing imperfections. Kintsugi, which ties in with Wabi Sabi, again, coming back more beautiful after being broken. Ganbaru, the spirit of perseverance. Ganbaru. And Gaman, which encapsulates patience and endurance, really. So, yeah. You're absolutely welcome, Elisabetta. It was my absolute pleasure. Suzanne saying, wow, this session was a real eye-opener. So interesting. I cannot pick one. I feel they all go hand in hand. Oh, 100%. They all go hand in hand. You can't really pick one. They're just such, all 8 of them are so important. And the interesting thing is there are so many more Japanese concepts and principles and terms and secrets that we haven't touched on. Japan is a country and a culture that is rich in wisdom, rich in tradition, and rich in pearls of that we can take with us in life to help elevate our lives in so many different ways. Definitely, Deanne. Yeah, I think we all share Suzanne's sentiment in that regard, and the fact they're all incredibly effective and they all help us in their own unique ways. And they all tie in with each other. Elizabeth, when is the next streaming? It's very late for me. Yeah, the next one, I haven't really set up a time for the next one. I've just been distracted the last few days. But I will do that now. I'll be sure to do that now, and I'll put up another few meditations on Insight Timer. So, and then I will put some on YouTube as well. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex. You've given me so much. Oh, thank you, Deanne. It's my pleasure. It's honestly my joy and my pleasure and my passion to help inspire you. So very interesting, Alex. Many thanks. I just finished reading Ikigai. Oh, thanks, Kathy. So glad you enjoyed the book. I'm glad you read it. It's just an eye-opening book. It's fascinating and it's brilliant. So I'm glad that you found value in it. Great that we can re-listen to this again on a YouTube channel. Yeah, absolutely, Suzanne. Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about YouTube is that I'll put it up, and if you've missed out or if you want to listen to it again, you can always go back and listen to it again. You're welcome, Stephanie. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed this, and I appreciate you guys being here. And I want to wish you a great evening or great night, and lots of love and appreciate. Thanks for being in my life. You enhance my life in so many different ways, and I'm grateful for you all. So thank you, and we'll chat in the next session. Love you guys, and take care.